Hey everyone, Sarah here. So I'm here to give you an overview of my productivity system. All right, so my friend actually teaches meditation and she showed me this jar analogy. And really, I feel like this is such a great representation of my life and probably your life. So you have, this is your life. So this is your life. And you have all these things, these to-do things, and you have the pink beads that represent work, and you have the green beads that represent, well, we'll just say money because it's green, and blue beads that represent your hobbies, or, you know, the white, your friends and family, right? And when you're going through the day, it starts to get crazier and crazier. Now, when you're going through the day, how are you supposed to identify which of these stupid beads am I supposed to be focusing on? So when you come out to the end of the day, that you actually feel like you accomplished something. So my productivity system has really kind of helped me sort through this chaos that is the everyday of our life and managing all the things. So my productivity system that I've created for myself is really around establishing routines that helped me reduce the chaos and just keep me out of that survival mode. I've also established some systems that just naturally increase my effectiveness. And lastly, boundaries. So I've had to learn some boundaries over the years in my career because I've been that person that has gone through the whole summer and didn't go through the beach once, or I've been that person that has worked 60, 70 hours a week. And I have been that person that just really has hit like burnout, just cannot think and like on the couch and can't function. And I just don't want to live like that. I feel like there had to be another way. So if you're new here, I'm Sarah, and this is Plan the Grind. And I've taken all of the tools that I've learned in the corporate world, such as Lean Six Sigma and different business methodologies, and I started to apply them to my life, and that really has helped me reduce that chaos and maintain focus and be productive. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of my productivity system that I've created for me in this video. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview of routines, systems, and boundaries. All right. So throughout the year, I have different routines that I establish throughout the year. And I put them on my channel, and I don't think I've ever explained to you like the cadence of these routines. And over on my Patreon, we'll talk more about this. We'll kind of get into this. And you did see my Q2 planning video that I put out. So that is part of the routines. So this weekly setup of my productivity system, or this monthly setup of my productivity system, and my list of projects and my Gantt charts, those are all me doing that on a regular basis, a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, is part of the routines that keep me productive. It keeps me in a place where I know what's going on. So when crazy stuff gets thrown my way, when these beads start coming at me, I have more flexibility because I have standardization where I can in my life. And I can fall back on those routines to make sure I'm keeping track of everything. That running to-do list that I keep in here, that, I'll be honest, some of this stuff doesn't get done and it's fine. It's not that important. But I know that I'm not doing it, and that's better. It's better to know what you're not working on than not knowing what you should be working on and you're not working on, if that makes any sense to you, or me, frankly. I also established some routines around work, like certain report out cadences, different cadences for the week. And I really identified what like my state of mind needs to be in for throughout my day and each part of the month or week. So these routines really become autopilot. They're like the habits that we talk about so much that we're trying to develop. Because I do them, they're habits. And some of these routines aren't even like in my productivity system, but they're in my overall productivity system, like within my house. For instance, you know, I have like a certain setup for my cat food. So I know that when it starts to get low, I should have more coming in. I have it on subscription, right? But I should have more coming in. And it's also set up a way in my kitchen that it flows when I'm making my coffee and feeding the cat and letting the dog out, right? All of those things. So there's certain routines, or there's certain routines that I do that When I check my mail, I throw the trash away from in the garage. It's right next to my car, right? So that was one of the routines that I've built. Or when I get gas, I always clean out my car. I just take the trash out of my car, and my car just naturally stays pretty clean. So these are some of the routines that, we don't see in my planning, but they're just habits that I intentionally developed. So it just reduces the chaos. And, just to go back to the car story, I know this is a little bit corny, but I used to always be the designated driver for work lunch. And I would feel so embarrassed if like my car was messy and I'm like, oh my gosh, because like, I don't know, I just felt like I didn't have my act together. So by establishing that routine, it became a running joke, like, oh, Sarah's car is always super clean, So, but anyhow, but when I don't feel good, I feel chaotic, or I feel like I let myself down. When I was in the situation where I didn't have a clean car and I'd have a car full of people at lunch and they're, sitting on cleats and, mail and tissues and cups and water bottles, right? So anyhow, I know that's kind of a corny example, but it actually means so much to me. So part of the system does look, it looks like a paper planner. You guys see it. You also can see that I use OneNote, a digital note-taking tool, and use the tools that are there for you that naturally fit, right? And it also looks like organizational tools within my house, right? So again, going back to that cat food, going back to that trash in the garage, going back to like how I build out my process of my weekly productivity setup, right? It all comes together with the system. It's all part of the system that are all interconnected to different areas of my life. So I really created these systems and identified the things that I need in my systems based on using some, frankly, Lean Six Sigma, right? So I've used flowcharts. I've actually current state mapped my weekly planning, my day, and I started to naturally look at like, when do I need things? Like, it's great to have my grocery list in my planner written down, but when I'm at the grocery store, I am not carrying my planner. So where does that make sense? Well, it makes sense to go in the OneNote, right? Because I have it on my phone, and I always have my phone with me. My project list, I used to have it written down on my planner, and I did print it out just for the sake of YouTube, but I keep it in my OneNote because it's where my email is. It's where my schedule is for my Outlook. So I can just look at all the projects going on, whether they're mine or my team members, or just, I don't know, anything that I'm involved in. And it just helps me kind of trigger that brain thinking, oh, I got to do this, right? So I incorporated them into different systems to make sure that they meet the needs of where I'm at when I need them. And I think that that's what we tend to forget. We think it all needs to be in one place. I just don't think that's possible, unfortunately. That's like my dream. I would love to create that one thing. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not possible, because sometimes you're outside and you remember something. You probably have your phone. Use your phone, right? So anyhow, so those systems that I identify all are built in a way that naturally meet the routines that I have. All right, now boundaries. So this is a big one, and we never talk about this. So I am a big fan of boundaries. And the reason why I came up with boundaries is because I didn't have any, frankly. I was working a ton. I was neglecting things that I should have been doing. And really, that's just what I did. And I wasn't happy. I felt like I was completely overwhelmed and always doing the things I have to do rather than the things I want to do. Now, I'm not saying that this gets rid of all the things that you don't want to do. You have to, but it does allow you to make time for things that you want to do. So some of the boundaries that I had to really implement was saying no. Like when somebody came back and asked me to do something, I said no. I'm like, you know what? This person doesn't, like, I wish them well and everything, but they're not like, at that proverbial table, right? They're not my people. I wish them well. And I can't take 5 hours out of my Saturday away from my kids, away from my Plan the Grind channel, away from my sister, or missing this to go just satisfy them, right? So saying no to certain stuff definitely made me feel a little bit more empowered around my time. And it also frees up time for me to work on what matters. And I know that's a tough one, but really understanding who are your core people, who are your family. And it doesn't mean you're not supportive of everyone else. I don't want to come across that way because I want everybody to do well in life. But I do prioritize what I need to get done. And I prioritize the people in my life that are like my core people. All right. What else? So some other boundaries that I've put in place is saying of kind of like reflecting on work. So I have all these systems and I am very confident that I put a solid effort into work and I reflect the type of employee or team member that I want to be because I confidently know what I'm working on all the time. And so if somebody comes to me and says, "Can you do this?" I will say, "Sure," but I'm like, "Okay, but let's look at my list. So let's look at what we got going on and you can help me deprioritize or reprioritize these so I can fit it in." And I make sure I do that. And this system is really what drives the ability for me to say that. It gives me the confidence to push back. So if someone's like, "Oh, you didn't do this," I'm like, "Yeah, what didn't hit the priority list this week?" Like, I'm confident in that. Like, now again, I want to be a good team member. I want to be somebody that can depend on me. And I, in fact, am. I have data, I have reviews, I have testimonials from my team members, and they all have a ton of respect for me and my work, and they come to me. But it doesn't mean that you have to say yes and do everything in order to get that. You just have to be really prioritized. And honestly, a lot of the times what I see is people don't realize how much you got going on. Like, "Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Oh, you're still working on that? We don't need to do that. Just to get rid of it," right? And that's usually what happens. So, and there's actually, I find it very respectful when people are like, "Hey, can you help me just reprioritize?" Because I don't want them working on stuff that doesn't matter. All right, so those are some quick overviews of like me personally, my productivity system that we don't talk about, that you don't see me talking about on my channel. And you don't see like behind the scenes or in my brain every day. So I would really want to know what are the things you want in like your productivity system, because I think it's more than a planner. I think it's more than an app. I think it's just more than getting stuff done. So thank you for watching, everyone, and I really appreciate all of your support over the years. So thanks again.